Hello, friends. Welcome back to Distilled. Have you ever paused, just for a moment, and wondered, truly wondered, where the greatest ideas in human history actually come from? Because contrary to the legends we've been told, the myths of geniuses struck by bolts of divine inspiration in a single, thunderous moment. The truth is far more beautiful, far more intricate, and far more human. Most good ideas, the kind that change the world, don't arrive in a flash of genius. They evolve quietly over time, like a melody that builds note by note, hidden in the rhythms of everyday life, waiting to emerge. This is the journey of Where Good Ideas Come From, a masterwork by Steven Johnson that invites us to unlearn everything we thought we knew about creativity, to walk through the hidden architecture of innovation, and to see that the birthplace of brilliance isn't a single room. It's a vast, interconnected world full of patterns, environments, and invisible collisions. And in this journey, you might just discover how to unlock the next big idea, not just in history, but in your own life. So in this deep, unhurried dive, we will unfold the 7 profound, timeless patterns that form the secret DNA of innovation. Patterns that stretch across centuries and disciplines, from natural ecosystems to high-tech labs, from ancient coral reefs to modern code bases, from Darwin's notebooks to YouTube's code. And we'll not only explore how these environments nurture creativity, but also why the most extraordinary ideas tend to emerge not from solitude, but from connected, chaotic, and messy places where minds and moments intermingle. So, breathe in, slow down, and allow your imagination to open wide. Because what you're about to hear may not only change the way you think, but transform the way you create. Chapter 1. The Adjacent Possible. Picture yourself standing in a vast, dimly lit mansion filled with countless rooms, each one locked, except the one you're in now. And only by opening the door beside you can you reveal a new possibility, another room, another space. And with each step you take, more doors appear, more paths unfold, more futures become unlocked. And within this infinite architectural wonder lies the concept Steven Johnson calls the adjacent possible, a phrase borrowed from biology that reveals a fundamental truth. Innovation doesn't take giant leaps into the unknown. It takes graceful steps into what is already nearly within reach. You see, new ideas don't appear in isolation or emerge from thin air. They arise from what is already here, from the tools and systems that are just one step away from transformation. Consider YouTube, not as a radical invention born out of nothing, but as a natural next step, an elegant combination of existing technologies. Broadband internet, flash video players, cheap webcams, and the growing culture of content creation. The lesson is, you don't need to invent the impossible. You need to stand at the edge of what is currently possible, look toward the next door, and dare to walk through it. Chapter 2. Liquid Networks. Now imagine the difference between water frozen in place, static, unmoving, unchangeable, and water flowing, swirling, merging, and parting in endless fluid motion. And there, in that metaphor, you have what Johnson calls liquid networks, environments where ideas don't just sit idle but flow freely, bouncing off each other, combining in unexpected ways, evolving not through isolation but through interaction. These networks can take the form of a busy lab, a vibrant cafe in Enlightenment London, an online forum of code breakers, or even your own inner mind when you allow it to remain open, curious, and connected. In nature, your brain works best not when it's tightly controlled, but when it's in a state of gentle chaos, where neural pathways mingle and mix, allowing creativity to surface from the depths. These networks aren't about clarity, they're about connection. And it is within that liquid state, where the boundaries between ideas soften, that innovation comes alive. Chapter 3. The Slow Hunch. And while we're taught to glorify the myth of the lightning bolt breakthrough, that singular moment of revelation that changes everything, the reality, as Johnson masterfully shows us, is that most transformative ideas begin not with clarity, but with a murmur. Not with a shout, but a whisper. Not as complete visions, but as incomplete curiosities that quietly linger in the mind like puzzles waiting to be solved. These are the slow hunches, ideas that take months, years, sometimes even decades to mature, like Darwin's evolutionary theory, which began not as a defined conclusion, but as an ambiguous question forming slowly across the pages of his notebooks. The true secret isn't to chase certainty, but to nurture ambiguity. To create a space in your mind where questions can breathe, where half-formed insights can wait patiently, bumping into new pieces of information until they finally crystallize into understanding. Chapter 4. Serendipity. And then there is the magic of serendipity. That beautiful, unpredictable moment when two thoughts collide, not by design, but by chance. Not because you planned it, but because you allowed the possibility to exist in the first place. But don't mistake serendipity for luck. It isn't randomness. It's a marriage between the unexpected and the prepared. It's Fleming noticing mold in his petri dish and asking, "What if?" instead of simply tossing it out. It's the curious mind that sees connections where others see noise. So, fill your world with surprises. Wander into unfamiliar territory. Read things that seem irrelevant. Surround yourself with difference, because the more varied the inputs, the more extraordinary the collisions. And it is in those accidental meetings that the truly original ideas are born. Chapter 5. Error. But just as important, perhaps even more so, is the role of error, of failure, of beautiful, glorious mistakes. Because if you want to innovate, if you truly want to explore uncharted territory, you must embrace the wrong turns just as much as the right ones. In fact, being right too early is often a dead end. Being wrong, however, forces you to rethink, to revise, to discover entirely new paths you never would have noticed otherwise. The history of invention is soaked in error. X-rays, pacemakers, microwaves, and post-its all emerged not from perfect planning, but from unexpected missteps. The creative mind doesn't avoid failure, it uses it as fuel. Because sometimes it is in our stumbles that we discover the staircase. Chapter 6. Exaptation. Now, journey with me into the wild and observe how feathers, which once served only to keep small creatures warm, eventually became wings that could ride the skies. And in that evolution lies the key to a concept called exaptation, where an idea or a tool finds a use far beyond its original intention. This is not invention, it is adaptation. It is seeing that a technology built for one purpose might be perfectly suited for something completely different. The printing press borrowed from the design of wine presses. Velcro emerged from burrs clinging to a dog's fur. Exaptation is creativity that recycles. It's the art of looking at something old and imagining something new. Chapter 7. Platforms. And finally, let us sink beneath the ocean to the foundation of coral reefs. Those ancient layered structures that begin as small organisms clinging to rock, but over time grow, layer upon layer, until they become entire ecosystems full of life, complexity, and possibility. And in that natural architecture, Johnson sees the most powerful metaphor of all, the platform. Platforms are fertile ground, foundations upon which new ideas, tools, and innovations are built. The web is a platform. GitHub is a platform. Even the English language is a platform, an evolving structure on which thought is stacked. Innovation doesn't rise from zero. It climbs on the shoulders of what came before. So if you want to build something lasting, don't just build products, build platforms that others can stand on. What's most astonishing is that these 7 patterns, each powerful on their own, are not separate, not isolated concepts, but deeply woven into a larger symphony of progress, where one principle flows into the next like notes in a song. The adjacent possible connects with liquid networks, slow hunches mix with error and exaptation, and serendipity dances with platform thinking to create a world where ideas don't just appear, they evolve, adapt, and spread through invisible webs of connection. And when we look at the real world through this lens, everything begins to make sense. Twitter evolved from the friction of podcasting and SMS technology. YouTube arose from existing components waiting to be assembled in a new way. Darwin's theory simmered for 2 decades in the back of his mind before it finally took shape. Innovation, as it turns out, is rarely a moment. It is a motion. So, what does this mean for you, for your creativity, your ambition, your future? It means you don't need to chase the impossible. You need to stay curious, keep a notebook of half-formed thoughts, build your own liquid networks, embrace serendipity, explore unfamiliar territory, and allow your slow hunches the space they need to breathe and grow. Whether you're an entrepreneur, an artist, a scientist, or simply a thinker, your job is not just to generate ideas, but to create the conditions where ideas can find each other. Why it matters today. Because in this hyper-connected world we live in, where open-source communities, global collaboration, and digital networks crisscross in every direction, the patterns Johnson describes are not theoretical. They are now practical, urgent, and accessible to anyone. Innovation is no longer reserved for the elite few. It belongs to every one of us willing to connect, combine, and collide. So, let this be your reminder. The next great idea doesn't need to arrive in a flash. It may already be with you, quietly evolving, waiting to collide with the right moment. Give it time. Give it space. Feed it with mistakes, accidents, detours, conversations, curiosity. And one day, what was once a whisper might just become a breakthrough. If this awakened something in you, if you felt your own hunch stir awake, drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's build our own liquid network right here. Like, share, subscribe, and keep coming back for more stories, more insights, more collisions. Because as Stephen Johnson says,